Okay, this is part two of salt being used as a chronometer. Basically, what they said was that the salt level is going up because you can measure it and you see that it's going up. So they said, okay, the salt level is going up, but we have to find an excuse, and they said that the excuse was global warming. Now, a much better excuse would have been, well, there's a lot of farming now, which there wasn't, thousands of years ago, and because there's a lot more people, therefore, a lot of irrigation and a lot of water going into the soil with irrigation, therefore that's going to create more salt going to the ocean. But they don't do that. You see, if you were to point that out, people would say, okay, 10% of the surface of the earth, of the land surface, is agricultural land. Of that, only a small portion is irrigated. The majority of the surface of the earth, 70%, is water. 30% is land. And remember, so 10% of that would be 3% of the surface is agriculture. Of that, a tiny percentage is irrigated, which means, guess what? You're only dealing with a tiny percentage. It wouldn't add that much salt to the ocean. It would add some, but not enough. They would be laughed at if they brought that up. But that would be a valid concern. Yeah, that's going to add some more salt to the ocean, but not a lot. Another thing they could bring up is the fact that people put salt on the roads in the winter. And they could say, well, that is causing more salt to go into the ocean, than before, thousands of years ago, for example. They could point to that. But again, they don't do any of these things because they realize it's like a pinprick on an elephant. It's a tiny annoyance. It's not going to be something, it's not going to account for the gigantic amounts of salt that are going every year to the ocean. And it would only lead to more ridicule. So what they do, being that they are scientists, is they make fun of people and they call people names and they giggle a lot and they say, you believe in an invisible man and you're crazy because I don't believe in things that are invisible. Well, let's face it. I believe in X-rays. They're invisible. I believe in radio waves. They're also invisible. And there's lots of things that are invisible. And just because something you can't see it doesn't mean it's not real. But the scientists constantly shift their story. One day they're saying that things are invisible, don't exist. The next day they're saying, yeah, but they do exist because look at X-rays. They're invisible and they exist. So, they're constantly all over the board, shifting their story around. Remember, this is the important part. They brought up the idea of science being real. And they brought up the idea that the ocean was once fresh water and it became salt water over millions of years. That idea did not come from creationists. Creationists always have said that the ocean was created with salt water. At no time did a creationist say the ocean used to be fresh water and then slowly over millions of years it became salty. That came from scientists. They were the ones who came up with that idea, and now they claim that it's creationists that came up with that idea. No, my friend. Why would a creationist who believes the earth is only a few thousand years old say that the earth is millions of years old and that God created it fresh water? Does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. They're nothing but a bunch of liars. Everything they say is a pack of lies. They came up with that idea to discredit God, and now that idea is coming to bite them, and bite them in a big way, because now they can't account for it. There is no mechanism by which you take tons and tons and tons of salt that are being deposited every year in the ocean, and you make those tons of salt go away. You could say, well, maybe the salt will suddenly start depositing. No, that doesn't happen. You see, the level of salt in the ocean is too low for it to start to deposit. See, once the level of salt goes really high, then you start having it deposit. It starts to deposit, but that will not happen for a long, long time. So you basically, what you have is a situation where the earth cannot be more than like 50 million years old, even if you started out with an ocean that was pure fresh water without even a trace of salt in it. So their entire mechanism for evolution would break down, and basically it shows that everything they've told you about how we came from monkeys and all the other lies that they told you about the dinosaurs and everything like that, it's all garbage. They flat out lied to you. They've done nothing but lie and lie and lie some more. The earth could at most, even if they stretched it to 100 million years, it wouldn't be enough time for everything to evolve. Because they keep saying, well, evolution is real, but then you notice that there is no evolution. They say, well, it's so slow, it takes millions of years. And you're like, wait a minute, even if it took millions of years, I would notice some change. Oh, no, I didn't say millions of years. I said billions of years. I mean, they're nothing but liars. They've constantly changed their story. That's the thing about a liar. A liar constantly changes their story. That's what scientists have done. And that's why I don't believe anything they say. You know, they've done nothing but flat out lie to you from day one. And now we're going to go into part 3, and we're going to discover something else that's even more important.